Levi Walsh Audio Productions presents The Chronicles of Satan, Volume 1, Hellbound, written and narrated by D.G. Law. Chapter 1, The Mist. A strange sensation of weightlessness surrounded Archie as he awoke with a start. His hands shot up to his face, and for no apparent reason his fingers did a reconnoitre of his features. Sitting up, he cradled his head in both hands.
Bloody hell, that must have been some night. My fucking head's killing me.
Realising he was surrounded by a thick white mist, he quickly clambered to his feet and staggered around, like a blind man trying to find his way in an unfamiliar place.
The bloody theatre's on fire.
Archie got back down on all fours and began frantically scrambling around, looking for an exit. He suddenly stopped his scurrying and sat up onto his heels.
What the hell? Why am I not choking? It feels like warm smoke, but I can still breathe.
The mist thinned in places, and Archie saw he was right on the edge of a steep hillside. Peering over the edge, he saw a shining black river meandering its way through the floor of a deep green valley. He quickly backed away from the precipice.
What the fuck happened? Where am I? Where is everyone? Where's all this fucking smoke coming from?
The mist swirled and closed back in around him. Archie tried to remember the hours leading up to finding himself here, wherever here was, but the harder he thought, the more he realised he couldn't remember anything. He felt strangely empty.
1 minute I was on stage, then bang, then here. Oh shit, I must be dead.
The crying and lamenting coming from the mist was terrifying his very soul. Archie's head spun from side to side, trying to see where the poor suffering creatures were, but the thickening mist swirled in around him, driven by a constant moaning wind. Something passed not far from Archie's face, something grey and shapeless. Frightened to move and shaking with fear, he began to see many shapes moving all around him in the mist.
Hello? Who's there?
A dark shadow floated eerily towards him. As it came closer, Archie could see it was human-shaped. Waving his arms, he tried parting the mist, but the thick vapour just swirled around him.
Who's there?
A face loomed out of the mist, startling Archie and making him stagger backwards.
What are you shouting for?
The mist parted like a pair of net curtains, and an old bloke with a bristling white beard, wearing a brown double coat and a blue seaman's cap, walked up to him.
You just got here, have ya?
What?
Yeah. Where am I?
Nowhere, mate. Sort of in between. The man offered his hand.
My name's Arthur. What's yours?
Archie, I think. Archie went to shake the preferred hand and disappeared right through it as if it was made of smoke.
Gets him every time, that one does. Sorry, mate, couldn't resist it.
How do you put up with this constant noise, the crying and moaning?
I don't listen to it. Got on my bloody nerves at first, then I learned to block it out.
How?
Come here, I'll show you.
Arthur placed a hand either side of Archie's head, covering his ears.
Close your eyes and think the noise is away. Imagine my hands are always there, blocking out the sound.
Archie closed his eyes. With Arthur's hands over his ears, he could no longer hear the terrible sorrow the other souls here were suffering. They were gone.
Open your eyes. Now concentrate. Keep that thought in your head.
When Arthur removed his hands, Archie staggered and looked like he was going to fall over. Arthur gripped his arm, steadying him.
Takes a bit of getting used to. You all right, son?
Yeah, thanks, Arthur. How did you do that?
I didn't. You did it yourself.
But how?
Take too long to explain, son.
Well, thanks anyway.
What happened to you then?
I don't quite remember. 1 minute I was playing the guitar on stage and the next I was here.
It'll come to you. Your memories have to catch up with you. It's 'cause your spirit moves a lot faster than him, but it don't take long. Have a seat till they get here.
Arthur watched him, curiously.
What are you looking for?
The seats. You said have a seat.
No, what I meant was look. Watch me.
Arthur sat down on an invisible chair, crossed his legs, then folded his hands in his lap.
You try it.
Archie crouched. He thought he could feel something under his bottom, something solid. Bloody hell! That hurt.
Here, take my hand.
Very funny. Archie got to his feet unaided and rubbed his head. Why do I still feel pain if I'm dead? I'm dead, aren't I?
Oh, you're dead all right, mate, and you only think you feel pain. You'll get used to it.
How long have you been dead, Arthur?
I don't really know, son. Time's funny up here.
What's the last thing you remember?
I was walking at the post office to get me pension, and that's when it hit me.
What hit you?
The heart attack. That's what killed me. Then I woke up here.
And when was that? Arthur went quiet for a moment.
70, I think.
And you have no idea how long you've been here?
No, son. Like I say, time's funny here.
Archie was suddenly slammed to the floor. He felt like he'd been hit by a bus. Arthur smiled.
That'll be your memories catching up with you.
Oh shit. I can't remember everything. How I died. Everything. Archie sat up, shaking his head. Arthur put his feet up on an invisible table.
So what year did you pop your clogs?
It was, I can't remember. Let me think for a minute. It's all a bit of a jumble in here. I remember. It was August 2016. We were playing a gig at the Empire in London. I was on stage when... Arthur's face took on a look of anger and turned blood red.
40 years? 40 bloody years? Those bastards have had me walking about up here for 40 bloody years. They told me I'd only be out here for 10 as a penance for all my sins, and they bloody forgot about me. Bloody typical.
Arthur stood up, rolling up his sleeves.
I'll give 'em 40 bloody years.
Arthur, don't go. Who are you talking about? Where were you promised you could go? Archie got up off the floor.
Sorry, son.
Arthur sat down again, but not in the same place. Archie wasn't going to try sitting again, so he remained standing.
Before I go, I've got to mark your card. Now listen up. That St. Peter at the gates won't just let anyone in. If your face don't fit, it's just like when you was alive.
What gates?
The pearly gates. The gates that lead into heaven. What bloody gates do you think I mean?
Sorry. Go on.
Sorry, son. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. When I died, I ended up here, just like you. I wandered around for God knows how long and ended up outside these big gates. There was this bloke standing behind the gates, sharp suit, smart haircut, fancy beard, you know the sort. Bloody jobs work. He's got this big book on a lectern and 2 big angels with him. One either side. Right Nancy's they look, all over tans and muscles everywhere, and little gold shorts that was having a right job holding it all in. So I walks up to the gates and I says, "Hello, I'm Arthur Crown." Well, my name's always been a bit of a joke 'cause of the old money, see? But I've heard every one of 'em countless times over. When they stops laughing, I says, "Is this heaven?" The suit gives me this look and opens his book. He starts reading out all the things I did wrong when I was alive. Petty things, right back to when I was a nipper.
Archie was getting a real feeling of dread. It wasn't looking good for him.
Then the suit shuts the book and says, "Because of your sins you must wander for 10 years as a penance. Then come back and we will review your case." Well, I weren't having none of that. I stepped forward to argue my bloody case there and then, and the 2 Nancy boys walked right through the bleeding bars, and they didn't look like they was about to buy me a pint. Sod this, I thought, so I legged it. What they didn't tell me was there's no way of knowing when the 10 years was up.
Sounds like bureaucracy has made it to the afterlife, Arthur.
I'll give 'em bloody bureaucracy. I've learned a trick or two since I've been up here. Let's see 'em fob me all this time.
Can I come with you?
Yeah, of course you can. You'd never find it on your own anyway.
Arthur walked into the mist with Archie close on his heels. They'd only gone about 20 steps when Arthur stopped.
We're here?
Seeing a confused look on Archie's face, Arthur explained as best he could.
Oh, time and space, son, time and space.
As they cleared the mist, they were looking down into a glaring white arena. with ice steps leading down to a wide stage. White fluffy clouds floated lazily across a deep azure blue sky. 2 angels appeared next to them, sporting very long, shiny brass trumpets, resplendent with unfurled banners. Turning to face Archie and Arthur, they proceeded to announce their arrival. Archie screamed as the trumpet, not 6 inches from his ear, let out a deafening blast. Furiously rubbing his ear, he turned angrily to the angel.
"What is bloody wrong with you? You could have deafened me."
The angel smiled angelically, and they both disappeared.
They do that with all the new arrivals.
Looking down into the arena, they could see the semicircular stone seats were full of souls, waiting for their final judgment, either lying around or worriedly pacing the arena floor. All eyes were raised to Archie and Arthur, but the souls soon lost interest and went back to their musings. At the back of what appeared to be a stage stood a huge pair of white gates, all shimmering and sparkly with points of light rising high into the sky. 2 majestic angels with outstretched wings that looked as though they were carved by Michelangelo adorned the top of each gatepost. As Archie took it all in, he felt a powerful feeling of serenity enclose him like a warm duvet. He followed Arthur as he walked down the steps, lagged a fair bit behind.
No point upsetting anyone just yet.
Arthur, rolling up his sleeves, marched up to the gates. A large black wrought iron sign hung from the bars by gold chains. Written upon the sign in beautiful gold lettering was the words, "Heaven, authorised personnel only." Arthur pounded his fist into it.
"Open up!"
A tinkling of tiny bells, followed by a thinning of the heavenly vapours behind the gates, revealed 2 angels, each sporting a very large trumpet. Archie took a few steps back. He didn't fancy another ear bashing. As the angels lowered their trumpets, St. Peter appeared and stepped up to the lectern. Archie could see what Arthur meant when he said the angels were all muscles and lunchboxes. Backing slowly away, he decided it would be prudent to watch from a safe distance. The angels, their wings tucked neatly behind their backs, took up their positions, one either side of St. Peter. He looked through the bars at Arthur as though a bad smell had just assaulted his delicate nose.
"Name?" "Arthur Cran. I was here before and you told me I had to wander for 10 years as a penance for my sins. Well, I've been wandering for 40 bloody years. Now open the gates."
St. Peter ran his finger down a page, shaking his head.
"There's a florin, a tanner, and a penny someone, but no half a crown."
Archie could see that Arthur was getting mad.
"Sorry, but you have to see the funny side of it. What was the name again?"
"Arthur bloody Cran."
This brought further gales of laughter from the 3 of them. That was the moment Arthur lost it. He reached through the bars, grabbed St. Peter by his designer tie and dragged him forward. St. Peter's face crunched up as it hit the pearly gates. The angels, taken completely by surprise, tried to stop Arthur choking the life out of St. Peter, if that was possible, and as his face was going bright red, it seemed it was more than possible. 2 pairs of muscle-bound arms fought to prise Arthur's hands from St. Peter's throat, but when they did, it all happened very fast. The angels, holding tight onto Arthur's wrists, rushed through the gates and threw him to the floor. Arthur was back on his feet in a flash. The souls in the arena cheered loudly as Arthur got ready for the affray. Archie, looking around for the angels with trumpets, watched from the swirling mist where he had backed up to.
Not bad for an old boy.
The arena was filled with applause as Arthur charged at the angels and brought them both down with a flying tackle. He was doing quite well until a large group of burly angels appeared and jumped on top of him like a rugby scrum. A bright red light flashed along the ground, and when all the angels got up, Arthur was gone. The angels walked back into heaven, dusting off each other's little yellow shorts, and disappeared as the mist swallowed them up. A multitude of sighs could be heard as the waiting souls realised the entertainment was over. The angels fussed over St. Peter, helping him to adjust his clothing. He slapped their hands away and they stood back. They could see he wasn't pleased. Archie looked wistfully back at the mist, then under the scrutiny of many pairs of eyes, walked cautiously toward the gates where St. Peter, now fully composed, had moved the lectern further back.
Hello? Is this where I report to heaven?
Name?
Archie? Archie Miller.
St. Peter flipped quickly through the pages of the book. He turned to the angels.
Oh look, a whole page all to himself.
The angels leant forward and looked at the open book. They returned to their upright positions with a knowing smile passing between them.
So, Mr. Miller, otherwise known as Drax, what can I do for you?
Is this where I report to heaven?
Yes. All newly departed souls must, after spending a given amount of time in purgatory, report here. Now, like I said, what can I do for you?
I'd like to come in, please.
St. Peter seemed to be having trouble with his face. It was still quite red after the altercation with Arthur, and the angels were both looking upwards.
Let's have a look, shall we?
St. Peter ran his finger down the page.
It says here that you had a musical band called Demons from Hell. Is that correct?
Archie nodded. He knew this wasn't good.
You'll need to speak up for the record, please.
Aye.
Yes, what, Mr. Drax?
Aye. I had a band called Demons from Hell.
This isn't looking good at all, thought Archie.
But it was just music. I'm not a real devil worshipper.
And you sacrifice small animals and perform very realistic human sacrifices to Satan. Would that be correct?
Aye. I'm fucked.
Speak up, please, Mr. Drax.
Nothing.
The record shows that during your last concert you viciously assaulted a Fender guitar by biting off its strings, causing the guitar to defend itself by electrocuting you and welding itself to your face. Is that correct, Mr. Drax?
What is this? A courtroom?
Yes, this is the final judgment on you, Drax. Or may I call you by your full name? Drax, servant of Satan.
Archie stood with his head bowed.
I'm sorry.
It's a little too late for that, Drax, servant of Satan.
So I can't come in then?
Do the words camel, sinner, and the eye of a needle mean anything to you? Now fuck off downstairs. I'm sure Satan will find room for you on his griddle.
Archie turned slowly around and took off like the wind, clearing the arena stairs two at a time. As Archie disappeared into the mist, the raucous laughter echoing around heaven cut into him like knives. Chapter 2. Back in the Mist. With not a clue as to where he was going, Archie ran through the mists of time and became hopelessly lost. It seemed endless. He stopped and looked around, though there was nothing to see other than a thick floating wall of white in every direction. He saw vague human shapes drifting aimlessly through the mist. Some passed so close to where he stood, Archie could see the despair in their faces and feel the fear in their souls. They were all as lost as he was. Even though he had only known Arthur for a short time, he wished he was here with him. He wondered where he was now. Archie wasn't going to try sitting again, so feeling very sorry for himself and not a little afraid of his uncertain future, he lay on the ground and curled up in a fetal position. Archie's thoughts drifted back to the time before he died. He saw himself in the dressing room at the theatre of his death. Mindy, his girlfriend, had been well out of it after the bottle of vodka she drank throughout the day. She was in an even worse state after they'd shared a few lines. It made Archie sad to think of the last time he'd seen her, sprawled out unconscious on a settee in his dressing room. He missed her and only now realised how much she'd really meant to him. His mind drifted back further to a certain night that changed his life forever and was the catalyst for his present situation. He'd been playing for different bands on the pub circuit when he'd met Mindy. She was the only person on the small dance floor in front of the band. Her small live body and her gyrations to the music had stunned Archie. It was as though she felt the music rather than heard it. At the end of the gig, they'd connected like they'd known each other forever. Mindy lived life as though every moment was her last, always in the fast lane. Her need for constant eyes was insatiable. Drink, drugs of any kind, and speed. When sober enough, she drove like she was always on a suicide run. It frightened him sometimes. It was at the same gig he'd met Hubert. Mother Nature hadn't been kind to Hubert. He was short and fat. His garish choice of suits combined with his ruddy complexion, bulbous nose and big flappy ears gave him the appearance of a circus clown. It was a face only a mother could love, possibly. Archie and Mindy were at the bar when Hubert had approached them and complimented Archie on his guitar playing. He'd offered to buy them a drink and they got chatting about the music scene. When Hubert had suggested Archie start his own band, Archie had laughed. But when he said he had many connections in the music industry and would be willing to manage, finance and arrange venues for such a talented artist, the smile disappeared from Archie's face. He wasn't too happy about the theme of the band that Hubert had chosen, a satanic rock group, but it had proved so successful that in the 2 short years they'd been together, they had a massive fan base and had earned millions. He thought about the events that led up to his demise. He remembered covering Mindy with a blanket, then leaving the dressing room with Hubert, then being hoisted up to the gantry and stepping out onto an upturned cross that was slowly lowered to the stage. He'd struck the first chords of their opening number, Satan, Our Master, then lifted the guitar in the best Hendrix tradition and ripped the strings from it with a set of metal teeth that had been made especially for that part of the show. Then there had been a flash of light and he'd woken up in a mist. Even though it had cost him his life, he knew they were the best 2 years in the short 27 years he'd lived, and now he was dead and probably damned for all eternity. Archie drifted off to sleep, if you could call it sleep. Images of Mindy flickered through his mind like a picture book. She looked happy and content. He saw her floating above it. She was dressed in a flowing diaphanous white gown and surrounded by cherubs and white fluffy clouds set against a bright blue sky. She seemed to be saying something to him, although he couldn't quite hear or make out what it was. As the images played out in whatever he had for a subconscious mind, him being dead and it all began to turn red. Mindy was gone. The once blue sky faded to a deep crimson as the clouds evaporated, leaving behind a blood-red backdrop. Darker images flitted past, creatures, once human, half-eaten in terrible torment, rushed around looking for somewhere to hide. An enormous creature with cloven hoofs, its lower part clothed in a thick red wool and sporting a huge ram's head, stood looking down at him, its demon form wavering in the air above him. Archie felt as though his whole being was on fire. He watched helplessly as the thought lowered towards him. The barbs pressed into his soft belly, pushing deeper until he knew they must pierce right through him. Archie was still screaming when he opened his eyes. All around him was white, though the floor still had a faint reddish hue.
Thank God.
It was then that he realised that something was still poking him in the belly. He looked up and there was an old man dressed in a flowing white robe, his white hair and beard hanging well below his waist, and he had a twisted cane in his gnarled hand and was jabbing it at Archie. Archie scuttled backwards away from him.
You can't lay there, young man. People are likely to trip over you in all this mist.
Archie clambered to his feet.
Who are you?
Methuselah. I'm the oldest man who ever lived. Who are you?
Archie. Archie Miller.
Ah, you're the one they're all talking about. The devil worshipper who tried to get into heaven. You've become quite famous up here, Miller. Or do you prefer Drax?
Archie will do fine. Drax was just a stage name, and I'm not a devil worshipper. It was just a band.
If you say so. Drax, servant of Satan. Is it true you've hit a guitar and got electrocuted? Not the rightest thing to do, was it?
No, not really. It was just part of the act.
Some act.
Methuselah allowed himself a little chuckle, then sat on an invisible chair. He rested his feet on an invisible table and crossed his legs.
So what now, Drax, servant of Satan? I suppose you'll be making your way downstairs to see your master.
Please stop calling me that. I'm no devil worshipper, honest. Why would no one believe me? I was brought up a Catholic. I was christened for God's sake.
I'd try to keep his name down to a minimum if I were you. Might get you noticed if you get my drift.
What do I do now?
Oh, I won't worry. You don't really have much choice in the matter. Sooner or later he'll claim you and then you're in the shit, so to speak. In life you were a Satanist, yet in death you denounced him. And that won't make him very happy. And he does have good hearing and a terrible temper, or so I'm told.
Oh God, what am I going to do?
You can stop that wailing for a start. Sets my bloody teeth on edge. There is another option. It's a long shot, but it could get you into God's good book. If you could pull it off, that is.
What? What is it?
Nah, you'd never succeed. You'd never get close enough to him. Nah, forget it.
Whatever it is, I'll do it. What have I got to lose?
Many have tried before you, and all of them have failed. But you're right. What have you got to lose? Your only other choice is don't bear thinking about. Fried on a griddle to Satan's supper, or hope you can elude him up here. Not much of a future for you, is there?
What would I have to do?
First of all, you can get back up here. Give me a terrible crick in my neck having to keep peering down at you.
Archie looked up and saw he'd sunk about 10 feet through the mist. The floor beneath him had taken on a deep red hue.
Help! I'm sinking!
Methuselah picked up his cane and tapped it on the invisible table. Archie found himself back on the same level again. He looked at the floor and seeing it was pure white, breathed a sigh of relief.
I forgot you was a newbie. First rule, if you don't keep moving, you sink through the layers into his realm. They can't come up here, but you can sink down to their level. And once you're there...
He ran his finger across his throat. Archie was beginning to wonder if it was a good idea, this volunteering. It was all sounding a bit risky. Methuselah whacked Archie on the leg with his cane, just to get his attention.
Ow! That hurt!
You need to learn a few basic survival tricks. The first is to stop feeling pain. That's a human trait.
Methuselah hit Archie again, this time across the knee. Archie hopped about, holding his leg and cursing.
What is bloody wrong with you?
Try to imagine that when I hit you...
The cane struck out without warning and caught Archie across the other knee. Archie fell to the ground, yelping in pain.
That the cane will pass straight through. Now get up here. I can't hit you all the way down there.
Archie saw the red glow and screamed. He was still screaming when Methuselah hit him on the head with a cane. Archie took quite a lot of blows and suffered much pain and misery before he finally mastered the art of not feeling it, which Methuselah seemed to enjoy immensely. Methuselah then taught him how to make and use invisible objects and how to traverse through space. They were now both seated on invisible chairs. Archie had his feet up on the invisible table, and Methuselah was about to explain what Archie needed to do to curry favour with God and save his immortal soul from eternal suffering and damnation.
Everything I've taught you will be of no use if you fail. Satan will eat you for breakfast over and over until eternity is no more. So listen up, and listen well.
Archie dropped his feet through the table and sat forward.
Before God created the heavens and the earth, there was just a void. God knew that when he created it all and made Adam and Eve, that it was going to piss Lucifer off. But he still went ahead and did it. True to form, old Beelzebub got the right hump about it and demanded a share in it. Well, God wasn't putting up with any more of Satan's tantrums. He kicked him out the board of directors, so to speak. Satan, feeling mighty peeved, gathered around him his closest allies and supporters and tried to overthrow God's rule over heaven. Well, you know that he lost and that God had him cast into the fiery pit for all eternity. But it hasn't stopped him trying to get what he sees as rightfully his. The battle between good and evil, or God and Satan, has been going on since Satan tempted Eve with the fruit from the tree of knowledge. When God created Adam, he thought he'd created the ultimate creature. He'd messed up a few times, what with the dinosaurs and the Neanderthals, so he wiped the slate clean and started over.
Methuselah banged his cane on the table.
Stop fidgeting and pay attention. It's important and could save your immortal soul.
Archie sat up straight and folded his hands in his lap.
Sorry.
Now, when God created woman, he knew she was perfection in every way. He used to watch her all the time. Not pervy or anything like that. He was overjoyed with her beauty, much as Michelangelo was with David. But other more pressing matters took his full attention. Then Satan went and spoiled it all by tempting Eve, and that got her and Adam thrown out of the Garden of Eden. Normally, God being omnipresent, Satan wouldn't have stood a chance, but so pressing was the matter he needed to attend to that it took his undivided attention. In slipped Satan as the snake that he is, done the business, and that was that. God wouldn't have anything to do with mankind after Eve tempted Adam to commit the first sin. He never got over it, and it never really worked out after the flood that he sent to cleanse the earth. It all began again with Noah and Eve mob, so he turned his back on all of mankind. He knew that all humans are flawed from birth over that one little episode in Eden, so he just let them get on with it no matter what the outcome. He did relent once and sent his only begotten son to try to sort out the mess that Satan had created, to try and bring goodness back to the earth. But he was too inexperienced to deal with it, and you know what happened to him.
So why can't God just wipe Satan and his followers out?
Rules, Archie, rules laid down so long ago that no one or no thing can remember when or who made them. But if they're not kept to the whole of creation, everything will descend into chaos. Now shut up and stop asking questions. Where was I? Now you've made me lose my thread.
He was up to the bit about Jesus.
I know that. Who's telling this story, you or me?
Sorry.
Well, the thing with Eve is that she's a pure soul created from Adam's rib, right?
Archie nodded.
Wrong. She was created from God's rib, not Adam's. So that made Satan want her more. He knew if he could capture Eve's soul, he could hold God to ransom, demand anything, even release from hell, and God wouldn't be able to refuse. Well, she's eluded him every time so far, but each time he gets close to capturing her soul, events unfold and she dies to be born again. He nearly had her this time though, but when he got back to your dressing room, she was already gone.
The chair disappeared from under Archie. So great was the shock that his concentration failed. He even felt pain when he hit the floor.
Are you telling me that Mindy was really Eve and Hubert was the devil?
That's it. We must talk more.
Archie sat on a chair of his own making and listened to every detail.
Hubert set you up from the beginning. He orchestrated your band, your success and your death, but he didn't count on you turning the first woman into a drunken crackhead, or her dying before he could possess her soul with a ritual only he knows. Once you were out of the way, Hubert would have been able to get Eve's soul quite easily. The time has to be right, you see. Alignments of planets and all that stuff.
Oh, the bastard.
Quiet. Now, the whereabouts of Eve's soul in her next incarnation are difficult to pin down. It could be anywhere on the planet, born of any woman out of billions. It takes Satan years to locate her using his minions to scour the planet, searching for her scent. When they find her, he moves in, and so far he's not been successful. Now, when God kicked Satan's hairy red arse down to hell, Satan took a certain box with him. He has no idea what it is or what it's for, but it's vital that God gets it back. If Satan ever finds out what its purpose is, mankind, heaven and every soul in it will become Satan's property by right. There have been many before you that have taken on the quest and all have failed. Since we've been sitting here, Eve has escaped him and been born 3 more times. She only has another 200 births before her soul is worn out. They have to return to heaven, you see, for a recharge, and hers has not been back for thousands of years. So time is running out because she can't come back here until God has the box. If Eve's soul is lost, the secret of the box that Satan holds will be revealed to him. Then all is lost. We will all be destroyed. So our fate rests in your hands, Archie Miller.
Archie sat speechless.
Let me think.
Take your time. I am the oldest man who ever lived, and...
Methuselah sat waiting, then picked up his cane and hit Archie on the knee with it. The cane passed right through.
Just testing.
Archie suddenly jumped up from his seat.
Will you shut up for a bloody minute? I need to think. I've got it. Hubert loved our music. I mean, really loved it. He even wrote some of it himself. If I can get on his good side, we could organise a concert including Hubert's songs. I could say it's in his honour. He'd go for it, I know he would. You should have seen his face when we performed the first song he wrote. It would give me a chance to slip away and steal the box. What does it look like, by the way? And more important, how do I get back out of hell?
Sit, and I will tell you all you need to know. The box is 1 cubit long by 1 cubit wide by 1 cubit deep, with lots of mystical symbols on it. The same ones that you wore on your cloak when you went on stage. Hubert had the design, remember?
How big is a cubit? I've no idea what a cubit is.
A cubit is the distance from a man's forearm to the tip of his middle finger.
That's not so big.
Depends on whose arm it was measured from. Let's hope he was only a little bloke. There, to get back out of hell, you will need this to get across the River Acheron.
From under his robe, Methuselah pulled out a rolled parchment.
Show this to Charon, the ferryman, and he will not question you. Then, once you're on the other side, throw this to Cerberus, the hands of hell that guard the gate.
He handed Archie a dried husk that looked like it might have once been alive.
Once through the gates, just think yourself back here. I will be waiting.
How do I get down to hell?
The best entrance is near the gates of heaven, but St. Peter guards that one, and we don't want that little toady knowing what we're up to. You'll probably be better off going in through one of the upper levels, then make your way to Hell City. From there it's all downhill, as they say.
And whereabouts is this entrance?
You're sitting on it.
Methuselah's voice suddenly took on a very ominous tone.
Your journey will be fraught with danger, but I feel that you, Archie Miller, are the one.
Archie was becoming more than a little scared at the prospect of hell.
There's just one thing of which I must warn you. If a demon inflicts damage to you, it's permanent, so try not to lose your head. Most important, that. But any injury a damned soul does to you can be repaired instantly by using the tricks I've taught you. Are you prepared?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Then goodbye, Archie Miller. I hope our souls meet again.
Methuselah tapped his cane thrice on the table. The mist cleared the floor below Archie and began to spin, turning from pure white to a deep red. As the floor spun, a tumultuous whirlpool appeared under Archie's feet. Archie's face was a mask of sheer terror as he was sucked down into the whirling maelstrom. Methuselah smiled wryly as Archie vanished and the floor closed over. He disappeared as the swirling mist closed in, sealing off the gate to hell. Chapter 3. The Road to Hell. Descending through a swirling mist that quickly became a violent storm all around him, Archie was thrown around like a paper bag inside a tornado, his screams of terror drowned out by the ferocious cyclone. On the turbulent journey down to hell, streaks of white and grey mist, whipped around by the wind, turned to pink, then to a dark red. Eventually he landed with a thump in a foul-smelling tunnel radiating a dull red glow. Archie's head shot from side to side like a tennis umpire as he jumped to his feet. He saw that he was in a very long tunnel. The red glow off the walls and ceiling dimmed the blackness quite a way off in either direction. Turds and foul-smelling liquids ran along a wide channel in the floor. Pieces of recognisable body parts floated by. A severed head with its eyes open stared up at him. It ran through Archie's open legs, and as he turned to watch it go by, the eyes blinked. Archie shuddered. Not knowing what direction to go, he stood with his feet straddling the stinking trench. The stench was overpowering at first, but Methuselah had taught him well.
Bloody hell, it fucking stinks.
He blocked out the smell with a single thought.
That's better.
Archie's voice echoed off the walls, travelling down both ends of the tunnel. He decided to follow the source of the effluent and hadn't gone far when he saw something moving in the distance. It was coming towards him at a fair old pace, and there was nowhere to hide. The tunnel was just red brick walls with no doors or inlets anywhere. He looked down at the ditch running along the centre of the tunnel and thought, sod that, I ain't getting in there, I don't care what it is. As the shape grew ever closer, Archie could see it was a man. He'd at first thought it was some kind of a monster, with huge hands and a mane of flowing white hair. But as it neared, he realised they were shirt cuffs and a head of white wavy tresses that were billowing out behind him. The man saw him and stopped, one foot slipping into the malodorous water. He kicked off a hand that grabbed hold of his ankle and stood astride the ditch, staring at Archie. One of us has to move, thought Archie, so he walked slowly towards him. As he closed in on the poor demented creature, he thought he'd seen him before, on daytime telly, one of those property shows. He looked stricken with fear and began to back away.
It's all right, I'm not going to hurt you.
The man stopped moving. Archie quickened his pace. He could see the terror in his eyes and noticed that under his flapping shirt tails there was a huge hole where his abdomen should be. The red glow from the tunnel wall was radiating through it.
My name's Archie. I'm lost. Can you tell me how to get to Hell City?
Why? Why would you want to go there?
I have something I need to do there. Someone I need to find.
Archie thought it best not to say too much.
Can you show me the way? Or at least point me in the right direction?
I'm not going back there. Look at what he did to me. Look!
The man pointed to the large hole in his stomach.
Who did this to you?
Archie bent forward and looked through the gaping wound.
That demon Azazel did it. After all the work I did, and this is the payment I get. They promised me I wouldn't have to suffer the torment of hell if I used my talents to remodel their apartments. Look at my suit. It's ruined.
Where am I?
The man calmed down a touch and sat on the floor away from the trench.
What are you doing here?
I'm looking for someone. I know you, don't I?
The man flicked his flowing white tresses back and fussed over his ragged cuffs.
I used to be on the telly. I was quite famous, you know. I was always in demand, worked in some of the best houses, I did.
Aye, I remember. You're that designer bloke who used to do people's houses up. What was her name? Aye, Handyman. I used to like your show. I thought you'd be upstairs hobnobbing it with that lot.
Cracked.
What?
It's Jethro. My name's Jethro. Anyway, I was upstairs. That St. Peter wouldn't let me into heaven. Jumped up little jobs were. Said my sort weren't wanted up there because I caused so much misery on earth. Took the right piss they did, bloody cheek. And those angels, they're not very angelic, are they? Turned quite nasty, actually, and I ended up here.
So is this what hell looks like?
This isn't hell, you fool. These are the sewers. I'm getting out of here before that demon Azazel comes after me. He hasn't seen the bedrooms yet. Well, it's hard to be creative when the only colour you have left to work with is yellow. I tried to improvise, tried to please him, but he went mad, and when he saw the lounge, shot a fireball right through me, the ungrateful cunt. Ruined my suit he has, and it's the only one I've got.
How did you die?
Jethro wiped his nose down his sleeve and looked up at Archie.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Archie shuffled along the red brick sewer and sat next to him.
At least tell me what year you died.
Jethro wiped away his tears.
It was 2027.
Archie realised time was passing fast on Earth and he needed to get moving.
Can you help me?
Help? What do you mean, help?
Calm down, mate.
Archie told him as much as he thought safe, especially the bit about how Satan could end up running the show if he discovered the power of the box.
I've seen it. I did his palace up. Now there's someone who has taste.
He supplied me with some beautiful fabrics, off-white, pinks, shades of brown, right through to a deep chocolate, and a lovely pale yellow. Beautiful texture it had, smooth but with thousands of tiny dimples that really reflected the light.
Probably human skin.
Oh God, you don't think so, do you?
Aye, can we get back to the box? Whereabouts in his palace was it?
Human skin. Ugh.
Tell me about the fucking box.
It's in his bedroom. He keeps it under the bed. It's just an old box. Doesn't even open. It won't be easy getting in there. There are loads of demons that guard his palace.
How do I get there?
I'll take you as far as the sewer exit, then I'm off.
Off where? There is nowhere to go. You can't get back upstairs. The only way out is across a river run by a ferryman. A real nasty piece of work. Then you have to get past the Hellhound, Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell. I'm afraid you're stuck here, mate.
Jethro took to wailing again. Oh God, I'm doomed. Archie put his arm around him.
Your only chance is to help me. I can get us both out if we get the box. In heaven you can have as many clothes as you want. What do you say?
Jethro stopped wailing and wiped his nose on his sleeve. Why not? I'm fed up with this bloody smell here anyway. Are you sure I can have lots of clothes if we get back upstairs?
As many as you like.
They will let me in, won't they? It wasn't my fault the silly woman dropped dead.
What woman?
They brought my show back. It was very popular, you know. It was after my last design job. The woman came in when we were finished, took one look, had an asthma attack and dropped dead. Her bloody husband said it was my fault and attacked me. Then I woke up upstairs.
That's no pleasing to some people, is there? Shall we go then?
They got to their feet and Jethro led the way back along a tunnel that seemed to go on forever. They stopped in front of a large round grille set in the wall. It's through here. It took both of them to push open the rusted grille, then Archie followed him through into a dimly lit room. Once inside, they were able to stand upright and made their way across a floor covered in a thick sludge to an arched metal door. Archie looked up at an impossibly high ceiling. The red light glowed a long way up the walls, then darkness. Jethro pulled on the door, but it wouldn't open. Archie grabbed the handle with him and pulled until he thought he would bust a blood vessel, if he had one, but the door wouldn't budge. It opened easily enough from the other side. Archie gave the door the once over, in case they'd missed a lock or a bolt or something, but the only things there were the handle and a plaque. He tried to make out what was written on the plaque, but the letters kept going out of focus and rearranging themselves. They tried giving the handle another pull. It was no use. It wasn't going to budge. Oh, what are we going to do?
Get a fucking rest, mate. That wailing is really getting on my nerves.
Sorry, it's a habit. Archie turned back to the door. As he ran his fingers over the letters, they lit up with a deep red glow and arranged themselves into a single line. What does it say?
I can't understand it. The letters are all bunched together. Looks like it was put there by a dyslexic demon.
Jethro pushed Archie out of the way. Let me see. I've always been good at puzzles. Wait, I've got it. Give up all hope, ye who enter here. Jethro turned excitedly to Archie. I did it, That was when his colour drained and the screaming began in earnest. The floor behind them had become alive with movement. Creatures of unspeakable horror were pulling themselves from the sludge and slowly but surely heading their way. Archie was mesmerised by the sight unfolding before him. Demons must be bad enough, he thought, although I've not actually seen one yet. But these things are a right motley crew. The shapeless creatures pulling themselves from the floor were covered in slime and suppurating pustules. They didn't resemble anything human that Archie had ever seen. It was the rising screams of terror that brought Archie back to his senses. Jethro was pulling frantically on the handle and looking back at the advancing group of Satan's spawn, now blocking the only exit. Oh God, help us! They pulled on the handle, but the door was stuck fast. Archie leant against the door, exhausted. He tumbled backwards, hitting a dirt floor with Jethro on top of him. He looked up and saw the open door. The monsters inside were disappearing back into their sludge. Jethro was still screaming and shaking and hanging on to Archie's clothes. Archie pushed him off and stood up. He felt like giving him a good kicking, but he restrained himself and helped him up instead.
Did you not remember it opened outwards?
Sorry, I guess I panicked.
You're such a dickhead.
Archie took in their surroundings. They were in a narrow alleyway with small adobe-type houses lining both sides. Small doorways and tiny windows adorned the red walls.
Where are we?
We should go. Why are you whispering?
No answer was needed. Small red-winged demons appeared at all the windows and doors, with tiny black forked tongues flicking in and out.
Oh look, they're only wee ones.
Each little demon quickly produced a very large three-pronged fork.
Oh shit! Run!
Jethro took up along the narrow passage that was filling up with tiny red demons. Archie followed on his heels. The demons poked at them with the razor-sharp points, each jab inflicting excruciating, piercing pain. Jethro disappeared into an horde of demons at the end of the alleyway, clearing a path for Archie. As Archie reached the opening more or less unscathed, he saw that it opened out into a wide valley surrounded by high cliffs. The sky and hills and the cliff walls were all a deep red that reminded him of the colour of blood. Jethro was running round like an headless chicken, trying to shed himself of hundreds of winged demons that were giving him a right good poking with their little forks. Archie sat on a rock to watch the comical display.
Serves the platter right.
As Jethro shook off the demons, they flew back to the alleyway and disappeared into the houses. Finally, 3 of them, he shuffled over to Archie.
Thanks for helping.
You seem to be doing okay without my help. Funniest thing I've seen in ages. Mind you, they've made a real mess of your clothes.
Jethro's clothes were little more than strips of rags. There was more bare skin than clothes.
Ah, hell. I'll soon be naked at this rate.
Jethro suddenly clutched at his crutch and screamed. His expression was of excruciating pain. Archie jumped off the rock.
What's wrong?
Archie saw a tiny demon sitting in the hole in Jethro's abdomen. It was poking its fork deep into his nether regions. He wrapped his hand around the demon and wrenched it out. Jethro fainted. Holding it away from his chest with both hands, it was hissing and struggling and poking its fork at him. Archie squeezed with all his strength, and in return the little demon sunk its teeth into his hand. Archie yelled and let go his grip. He tried to prise its mouth open without success, so he smacked it against a rock a few times and it finally released his hand and fell to the floor. Kneeling to look at it, Archie prodded at it with his finger. Its eyes shot open and it poked him in the face with its fork. He flew backwards, landing on his arse and clutching his face as the demon flew back to the alleyway. He could have sworn he heard it laughing. Rubbing his cheek where the fork had pierced through to his mouth, he looked around for Jethro. He was sitting up, holding his head in his hands and weeping like a child. Archie had never seen a more wretched creature. It filled him with pity. He walked over to him and helped him up. They sat on a rock looking out over the valley.
I can't go on. I can't take any more of this. I want my old life back.
Going to happen, mate. And if you don't help me, things are going to get a lot worse. Believe me when I say if Satan takes over the reins, we're all in deep shit. Come on, show me where this city is.
Jethro pointed along the valley.
It's through there and over the last rise. Are you sure you need me? I could hide out here until you get your box, then we could leave together.
Sorry, no can do. If everything works out the way I plan, I might have a design job for you.
Jethro's ears pricked up at this.
I'll tell you more nearer the time.
Can we rest here for a while?
Aye, why not? I'm just going to have a look around.
Chapter 4. Archie walked back towards the alleyway. He glanced in and saw it was deserted and the door they had come through was closed. The demons had all returned to their little houses and it was quiet, too quiet. The valley floor was eerily empty. He walked on a little way and came to an impenetrable curved cliff wall that made the Hoover Dam look small by comparison. The height of the wall must have been a couple of 1,000 feet or more. Archie followed the wall around until it ended, buried into the hillside. He was tempted to climb up and see what was on the other side, but remembered that time was of the essence. Getting down to Satan's lair and retrieving the box was more important than a sightseeing tour of hell. As Archie made his way back to where Jethro was laying on a rock, he noticed a large round hole set into an escarpment of huge boulders. He thought he saw movement just inside the mouth of the cave and walked over to have a look. Standing outside the cave and peering into the darkness, he had a feeling that he was being watched. He took a few steps forward and came face to face with a wizened old man with bristling crazy ginger hair and a ginger beard to match that almost touched the floor.
Hello? My name's Archie.
The ancient stood in the opening looking out at him, his toothless mouth agape. The old man shuffled out into the red light and suddenly rushed at Archie, knocking him to the ground. Grabbing up a rock, he bashed Archie in the side of the head with it. Archie, stunned but more shocked by the old man's speed and agility, put his arms protectively around his head as the old man proceeded to bash him again with a rock. He got up off of Archie and picked up a huge boulder with which to finish him off. Archie rolled out of the way just as the rock hit the floor, throwing a cloud of choking red dust into the air. Scrambling to his feet, he was up and running with the old man close on his heels and throwing rocks at him. Jethro, alerted by Archie's cries, sat up and when he saw him coming, he hid behind a rock he'd been laying on and then turned and ran up the hillside. Archie raced up the hill without looking back. He felt a small missile hit the back of his head as he scrambled up the loose shell that threatened to hurl him back down to his attacker.
Run! That crazy old bastard's trying to kill me.
When Archie looked back, he saw the old man standing at the bottom of the hill. Who is he?
How the fuck would I know? I just got here.
He raised a withered arm and waved at them. Jethro waved back. Let's go down and talk to him.
Fuck off. I'm not going down there. He tried to kill me.
Come on, there's two of us. What could he possibly do to us? We're already dead.
He's just trying to keep my head in with a rock. He's mental.
Okay, I'll go down a little way and see if he's calmed down. Jethro carefully made his way down the hillside and stopped 20 feet from him. Who are you? Why did you attack my friend?
I'm sorry. I thought he was a demon. I am Adam. I mean you no harm.
Archie got up and walked down the hill, stopping next to Jethro.
What did he say?
He thought you were a demon, Archie. His name's Adam. You don't think?
I doubt it. That was thousands of years ago. No, it can't be. Let's go down and see. But if he picks up another fucking rock, I'm legging it.
Adam had sat down with his back against a large boulder. To the two men coming down the hill, he looked old and frail.
I'm sorry I hit you. I haven't seen anyone in such a long time. I thought you were a demon sent to get me. They've tried to capture me many times before, but I'm too quick for them.
How long have you been here? Adam scratched his wispy hair-covered head and thought for a moment.
I don't really know. There's no day or night here, so it's hard to keep track of time. I spend most of my time tunnelling.
Why?
To get out of hell, of course.
You can't tunnel your way out of hell. It's endless. It goes on for all eternity.
That's what they want you to think, but it doesn't. Hell has to have boundaries like everything else in the universe.
When did you die?
It was 1137. I was taken to the dungeons and tortured to death like many others.
I died in 2027, so you've been digging tunnels for nearly 1,000 years.
If you say it is, then it must be so.
Doesn't that tell you something? How far have you got?
A fair way into the mountain. It can't be much further.
You'll never reach the end of hell. It goes on forever.
Why don't you come with us?
We're on a quest. If we're successful, we can all get into heaven.
I can't. I will never be allowed into heaven.
Of course you will.
No, my sins would never be forgiven. That's why I was exiled here. I can never go to hell or heaven. That's why I'm trying to tunnel my way out.
What the fuck did you do? When you were alive, that is.
I'd come up from Cornwall because we was all starving down there. There was no food, no work. And I thought I'd try my luck in London. See if I could get some work and maybe send something back for the wife and children. I was working on the foundations of St Paul's Cathedral. The previous one had suffered a lot of damage in the fire of 1136 and was being rebuilt. I was an old man by then, and not having had a craft passed down to me by my father, I was put to digging out the ground below the cathedral. I found something that could have changed the course of the whole world. I knew it was a most powerful thing. It showed me that which no man has the right to see. It opened doorways to other places and worlds beyond imagination. I knew that if my betters had possession of such a thing, there was no telling what they would do with it. So I took it and hid it well. No one will ever find it. Little did I know that one of the other workers had seen me using it and informed our masters. I buried it where no one would ever find it, and they never did. They took me away and tortured me. They searched for it in vain, but I knew they would never find it, and I never told, even though the pain they put me through was unbearable. I took the secret to the grave with me.
What was it?
A crystal.
Where did you hide it?
Adam looked suspiciously at Archie. He jumped up like his arse was on fire.
He said you're Satan's spies. You want the crystal for him.
Archie saw the fear in his eyes. He tried to calm him down.
No one sent us. We're here on our own.
Adam shrieked in terror. He pushed Archie away and ran off, his arms waving like a loon. Archie went to go after him. Jethro held him back.
No, Archie, let him go. You can't do anything for him. We can't just leave him here. If what he said is true, he's guarded that secret for nearly 1,000 years. And he's right. If something that powerful fell into the wrong hands, just imagine the consequences.
They both watched as the crazy old man ran into the cave and disappeared into the darkness.
Poor bastard. At least the secret is safe with him. He'll never get out, you know. He'll be digging tunnels until the end of time. I suppose so. We should move on. Where do we go now? It's this way. And Archie, you need to prepare yourself for what you'll see when we enter the real hell. It's not going to be pretty. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it.
After a long walk, during which Jethro never stopped whining, they came out to the floor of a valley into a wide red expanse littered with white rocks. The rocks seemed out of place to Archie, seeing as the dominant colour hereabouts was red. When he looked closer, he saw that they weren't rocks, but some sort of egg sac. Jethro began with a whispering again.
What is it with you and this bloody whispering?
I trod on a few of them on the way through to the sewers. They made a terrible mess of my gooches, but that's not why I'm whispering.
Archie looked in the direction that Jethro was pointing. A few feet away, egg sacs were being torn open from the inside. Tiny winged demons were coming out of them and flying off towards the top of the valley. When he turned back, he saw that Jethro was off and running at a fair old speed, trampling on eggs with every footfall.
Oh, thanks.
Archie took off after him, followed by a flying mob of very angry little demons shrieking in high-pitched voices. He overtook Jethro and made it to the low hill rise in front. Stopping halfway up the hill, he turned around to see where Jethro was. He was on the valley floor and being attacked by scores of tiny demons. They were tearing at his clothes and pulling his hair out by the handful. As Jethro valiantly fought them off, which mainly involved covering his head with his arms and running like the devil was after him, he reached the bottom of the rise. The newly hatched demons flew back towards the egg field. Jethro collapsed to the floor, exhausted, demoralised and practically naked. Archie ran down the hill and sat on the floor next to him.
Are you all right, mate?
Jethro looked up, his voice soft and pitiful, full of sorrow.
I can't go on. You'll have to go alone. Look at me. I'm a wreck. If this is what eternity is going to be, I want it to end now. I can't take any more.
Then Jethro began sobbing, all lost and forlorn like.
I can help you.
No one can help me. I'm damned for all eternity. Just leave me here. I don't care anymore.
Archie gave him the once-over. He was in a right mess. The demons had torn out most of his hair and his clothes consisted of a few pieces of tattered rags, barely enough to cover his modesty.
What if I could get you a new suit of clothes? Maybe get your hair sorted out as well.
How could you do that?
I can teach you how to do it yourself. How to shrug off your earthly sufferings.
I don't understand.
Archie got up and sat in a chair of his own making. Jethro sat up and stared at him in wonder.
How do you do that?
Punch me in the face.
No, I'm not a violent person. I couldn't hit anyone.
Do it. I won't feel a thing. Honest.
Jethro staggered to his feet and stood in front of Archie.
Come on. Hit me.
Jethro tapped him feebly on the cheek.
Not like that. Bring your fist forward with all your strength and give me a real good shot in the face.
I don't want to. I can't. I was always a pacifist when I was alive.
Come on, you wimp. Hit me, you fucking crybaby.
A fist flew out and smacked Archie right in the eye. He fell to the floor, his hands clutching at his face.
My eye! My eye! Oh, the pain, the pain!
Jethro fell to his knees. Archie turned to him, a big smile spreading across his unmarked face.
How'd you go in then?
Why do I still feel pain and you don't?
You just haven't learned to stop feeling it. Same as your clothes. You only think you look like that. You can look like anything you want. You just have to think it.
What about the hole in me? Can I mend that as well?
No, sorry mate. That's permanent. It was inflicted by a demon of a higher order. I was warned about that. But cheer up. Nice shirt over it. Won't even notice.
And all I have to do is think and I'll be dressed in anything I choose.
Aye, that's about all there is to it. Watch me.
Archie thought about the cloak he used to wear on stage. Immediately he was dressed in a black cloak covered in mystical symbols. He pulled the hood over his head.
See? It's that easy. You try.
Jethro went deep into thought. He looked down at his tattered clothes.
It's not working.
Imagine the last suit you wore. Concentrate really hard and try to picture yourself dressed in it.
Jethro tried again, but all he managed to achieve was the disappearance of the few rags that afforded him some modesty. He now sat on the floor naked as the day he was born.
I didn't mean your birthday suit. I don't think you've quite grasped the idea.
Please, teach me. I can't go on a journey through hell like this.
Archie, sporting a wicked grin, searched around for a suitable rock with which to begin his training. Many hits later, Jethro had mastered the art of not feeling pain. Archie taught him everything he had been taught by Methuselah. Soon he was sitting on a chair of his own making and wearing a nice pinstripe three-piece suit, a flowery shirt complete with huge collar and flowing cuffs, and a nice pair of Gucci shoes. The whole ensemble was topped off with a jet black hairdo and a smart pair of designer sunglasses.
How do you feel now?
Ready for anything. Tell me about this design job you mentioned earlier.
Archie told him everything. Hubert, how he died, Mindy, the concert, the box, everything.
That's why I need you. If I can persuade Satan I want to hold a concert in his honour, you get to design a set, and if we can get him to let his guard down, you could sneak in, nick the box and wait in a sewer for me. It must lead into the river, and we can follow it to escape.
Jethro sat very quiet, too quiet for Archie's liking.
Well?
When I first met you, I was a poor, terrified, lost soul. My spirit was broken. I've suffered pain, humiliation, terrible scathing criticism of my work. I've had holes blown through me, my clothes torn from my body, my hair torn out by demons, and the smell and filth of this horrible place. But worst of all, the one thing that offends me is the revolting colour scheme everywhere. If I can pay them back, especially that Azazel, and possibly spend the rest of eternity in heaven, with nice clothes and hair and stuff, then considering the alternative, I say let's go for it.
That's the spirit. How will you get into his palace, though?
You leave that to me. I know the place well, and palace is a bit of an overstatement. More of a large hall with rows of columns disappearing into nothing, and a very large gold throne at one end. His bedchamber is behind the throne room. Well, I say bedroom. Until I designed it, it was more of a pit with a few stone shelves sticking out from the walls.
I thought you said there were loads of demons guarding his palace.
There are, though they're not the brightest of creatures. Vicious and downright ugly, but a bit slow in the old grey matter. Assuming it's grey, probably red like everything else in this horrid place. Archie was getting a very bad feeling.
Why in God's name did I let myself get talked into it? Shall we go then? From the crest of a hill looking down at the wide expanse of a red valley, Hell City sat in wondrous horror against a backdrop of sharp mountain crags and a deep red sky. The walls to the city were red, the buildings were red, the towers were red, everything was red. Even the flames surrounding the city were red. The whole city sat enclosed inside a whirling maelstrom of fire, reaching up to an impossible height.
Is everything in hell red?
As you can see, my design skills were somewhat curtailed by the colour red.
How do we get into the city?
We just walk in. There's no guards. Why would there be? No one would be there unless they were either condemned souls, or mad, or really evil. But once in, there's no way back out. Only the way I escaped. And that was through the dungeons and torture pits below Satan's inner sanctum, where Azazel had me taken. They walked up to the firestorm and were faced with a raging inferno. The air was boiling and the howling rage of 1,000 demons issued through the curtain of fire, chilling them both.
How can we get past it?
We just walk through, but be warned. If you try to walk back out, your soul will be consumed by the fires of hell. Archie reached forward and gingerly touched the wall of flames, then pushed his finger into it right up to the knuckle.
It feels cold.
When Archie pulled his hand back, the finger he had inserted was gone. He held his hand up and stared at the place his finger used to occupy.
My finger! It's gone! My bloody finger's gone!
I told you, you fool. Nothing can come back through the flames. It's one way only.
How am I going to play the guitar? It's my best finger.
I'm sure you'll manage. Now, when you step into the flames, don't take as much as one step backwards, or it will be more than your finger missing. Archie stepped away from the flames and sat on the floor, nursing his missing appendage.
I'm really not sure about this.
Now who's the wuss? We have no choice. There's nowhere else to go, remember?
You're right. Let's get it over with.
Hold my hand and we'll go through together.
Hold your old bloody hand.
Archie shut his eyes tight and walked into the inferno. It felt like he just stepped into a deep freeze. He felt the cold air disappear as he came out the other side. The heat and the smell of brimstone and sulphur hit him full on. That was bad enough, but the sight that met his eyes terrified his very being. Jethro appeared through the flames and stood next to him. Welcome to hell. Archie stood rooted to the spot. The shock and horror of the terrible scenes he was witnessing was beyond his comprehension. His mind refused to accept it. People, naked and filthy, pursued by demons, were running around screaming in terror, their flesh smouldering. Some poor souls had holes burnt right through them, but unlike the hole in Jethro's abdomen, they were suffering agonising levels of pain that no living person could ever have endured. These people, Archie knew, were the damned. He also knew that if he didn't pull this off, he would be joining them in an eternity of pain and suffering. As they both stood watching, hypnotised by the terrors unfolding before their eyes, tortured souls, knowing there was no escape from their fate, rushed past them and into the fires guarding hell, there to disappear into oblivion. They watched for a long time in horrified fascination until a demon, riding on the back of a young woman and tearing the flesh from her bones, swept past them. A magnitude of terror rose in Archie, propelling his feet forward. Jethro pulled him back. "No, Archie, stop. If you run, the demons will chase you. They'll smell your fear and feed on your soul. Try to act brazen. It throws them off balance. I'll go first, just follow me." Setting off into the madness taking place all around them, his long black curly tresses blowing in the constant wind, Jethro walked through the nightmare, dodging demons and tormented souls alike. Archie followed likewise. A bright red ball-faced demon, kneeling and busily flaying the flesh off a young man, stopped his tormenting and looked up as they passed. It stood up to its full height, at least 7 feet tall, and glared down at them, streams of smoke issuing from its facial orifices. Jethro flicked his cuffs at it as if to say, "Carry on." Then, through the madness taking place all around him, he strolled over towards a large set of doors. The demon stared at them for a moment longer, then went back to its flaying. They walked down a wide set of steps and across a steep slope leading to a narrow ledge. A high set of black ebony wood doors that were inlaid with tortured souls, trapped forever in the panels, stood before them. A large ram's head knocker graced each of the doors. "Archie, look down there." Below them, in semi-darkness, naked shapes were being blown around by tornado-force winds. End over end they went, drawn upwards and downwards by the dark whirlpool.
What is it?
In fleeting moments they saw men and women with impossibly large sex organs flying around like mad human-sized kites trapped in a tornado. That's where sinners are blown endlessly around as a punishment for their transgressions.
What does that mean?
It's hell for people that pursued carnal desires in life. Perverts, paedophiles, fetishists, that sort of thing.
That doesn't seem so bad.
No? Keep watching. As they watched the shapes appear, one shape, obviously a man given the size of his appendage, appeared at the edge of the tornado. A huge dismembered hand with elongated bony fingers reached out of the turbulence and wrapped its razor-sharp talons around his member. The man screamed as it was ripped from his body. The swirling wind sucked him away, his screams fading into oblivion. A pair of white-gloved hands appeared, followed by an horrendously deformed pasty white face, its eyes 2 deep black pools of evil. The evil one tried to climb from the pit, but the violent wind held it fast. It stared up at them, struggling to keep a hold on the crumbling edge. Then, under a sharp pointed nose, a red slit of a mouth opened. A taloned claw appeared out of the turmoil and wrapped its long sharp fingers around its head and wrenched the soul from the wall. It was whipped away by the wind and dragged downwards into the maelstrom, its screams fading away under the noise below. Had it been possible, Archie would have sold himself. As it wasn't, he made do with wrenching on Jethro's lapels and screaming for him to
"Get us the fuck out of here!"
Jethro shook him off. He turned and lifted the ram's head knocker and brought it down on the wood, causing the embedded souls to shriek in pain. The resounding echo and the screaming of the souls trapped within the panels boomed around the devil's playground, drawing the attention of many idle demons. Archie looked up the slope. The demon who enjoyed flaying people was standing at the top of the steps, staring at them. It bellowed, billowing out 2 streams of acrid smoke from its nostrils and headed in their direction, its hoofs trying to gain purchase on a slippery floor. Other demons, not wishing to be left out, stopped tormenting whatever poor soul that had their attention and rushed across the floor towards them. Jethro lifted the other knocker and let it go with a similar resounding echo. The doors creaked open and they both fought to get inside first. The demons, with outstretched clutching claws, reached them and crashed into an invisible barrier. They both fell to the floor in a tangled heap. Archie looked back from under his arm where he'd hidden his head and saw a terrifying mob of demons looking in at them. It was as though they were on the other side of a wavering portal. Archie closed his eyes to block out the sight that brought terror to his soul and prayed to God they couldn't get in here. He breathed a long drawn-out sigh of relief when the doors closed with a resounding bang, echoing around the enclosed space like an explosion.